Have you ever looked at your bank account on payday and thought, this doesn't make sense? You're earning more than you did 3 years ago, maybe even more than you ever imagined you would. The job title improved, the salary increased. On paper, you're progressing, and yet your chest still tightens when rent is due. You still hesitate before booking flights. You still feel that low-grade anxiety when someone says, we should go out this weekend. You tell yourself, I just need one more raise. But didn't you say that last time? If you're earning more but still feel broke in 2026, I want you to hear this clearly. It's not because you're irresponsible. It's not because you're bad with money. It's because the system you're operating in quietly absorbs every raise you earn, and your psychology helps it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's talk about why income growth isn't giving you relief, and what's actually happening under the surface. Most people assume money problems are solved by making more money. It sounds logical. If you're short $1,000 every month, earn an extra $1,000 and the problem disappears. But here's what almost nobody explains. Income growth and financial relief are not the same thing. One is external, the other is internal. You can increase your income by 30% and still feel just as financially fragile. You can double your salary and still feel behind. And when that happens, something strange begins. You start blaming yourself. You think, I should be further by now. You compare yourself to friends who seem calmer. You scroll social media and see vacations, new homes, weddings, and you wonder how everyone else is making it work. But what if the issue isn't your discipline? What if the issue is something far quieter? Something behavioral? Because here's what I have noticed after watching this pattern play out again and again. Most people don't have an income problem. They have a relief gap. And that gap grows with every raise. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you were earning $60,000 a year. It felt tight, but manageable. You dreamed about hitting $80,000. You told yourself, once I reach that number, I'll finally breathe. Then you hit $80,000. But something happened. Rent increased. Or maybe you moved to a slightly nicer apartment because you felt you deserved it. Groceries cost more than they did 2 years ago. Subscriptions stacked up. You upgraded your phone. You financed a better car because now the payment fits. None of these decisions were reckless. They were reasonable. That's the key. Lifestyle inflation rarely feels like extravagance. It feels like alignment. You think, I worked hard for this. I should enjoy my money. And you should. But here's the quiet shift that happens. Every time your income rises, your baseline expenses adjust upward almost automatically. Not because you're irresponsible, because your brain normalizes comfort quickly. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. We adapt to improvements faster than we expect. The raise feels amazing for about 3 months. Then it becomes normal. Your nervous system recalibrates. And what used to feel like abundance now feels average. That's the first layer. The second layer is more subtle. When income increases, social expectations often rise with it. Maybe your family assumes you can contribute more. Maybe your friends assume you can travel more. Maybe you assume you should be investing more aggressively, buying property, building wealth faster. The pressure expands. Your income didn't just grow, your identity did. And identity is expensive. You begin to think in bigger numbers, bigger trips, bigger goals, bigger future plans. But here's the quiet math most people miss. If your expenses grow at the same rate as your income, your financial stress doesn't shrink. It stabilizes. You've moved the treadmill forward, but you're still running. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. There's a psychological phenomenon I want you to notice in yourself. When your income was lower, you tracked money closely. You were cautious, intentional. You knew where your dollars went because you had to. When income rises, vigilance often drops. Not because you don't care, because you feel safer. You start rounding numbers in your head. It's just $40. It's only $120. It's fine. Small leaks don't feel dangerous when the paycheck is bigger, but those small leaks scale. And then there's the third layer. This one hits deeper. Many of us are unconsciously trying to match our environment. If you live in a high-cost city in the US or Western Europe, the baseline for normal spending is already elevated. Rent, food, social activities, transportation, everything is higher. When you get a raise, it doesn't feel like extra money. It feels like catching up. Catching up to inflation. Catching up to peers. Catching up to your own expectations. So you never feel ahead. You just feel less behind. And less behind is not the same as secure. That's the emotional disconnect. You thought more income would create peace. But what it created was a slightly upgraded version of the same stress. Now let me open a loop here. Later, I'm going to show you the subtle decision shift that separates people who finally feel relief from those who keep chasing raises without ever feeling stable. But first, there's one more layer we need to uncover, because income growth can actually increase anxiety. Yes, increase it. Here's why. As you earn more, you become more aware of what you could be doing. Investing, building retirement accounts, buying property, starting a business. You see content about compound interest. You hear people talk about financial independence. You calculate how much you should have saved by now. And suddenly your raise doesn't feel like progress. It feels like pressure. The more you earn, the more responsibility you feel. And responsibility without clarity creates stress. Here's the realization that changed everything for me. Financial relief does not come from earning more. It comes from creating margin. Margin is the gap between what you earn and what you require to live your life. Not the life you could live, the life you choose to live. That distinction matters. Most people increase income first and adjust lifestyle immediately. What if you reverse that order? What if every raise didn't automatically translate into a higher baseline? What if instead of upgrading your life instantly, you upgraded your margin? Because margin is what creates calm. Margin is what allows unexpected expenses to feel annoying instead of catastrophic. Margin is what lets you say no without guilt. When your expenses rise to meet your income, you stay dependent on that income level. Lose the job, reduce the hours, face an emergency, and everything feels fragile. But when your expenses remain intentionally below your income growth, something shifts. You feel ahead. Not flashy. Ahead. And ahead feels different in your body. It feels quieter. It feels grounded. You stop chasing the next raise as salvation. You start viewing it as optional leverage. That's the psychological pivot. Now let's bring this into real life without extreme rules or hustle culture nonsense. The first thing I'd invite you to do is pause before upgrading anything after your next raise. Not forever, just pause. Let the new income settle for 3 to 6 months without adjusting your fixed costs. Watch what happens. You'll notice something powerful. Your account balances begin to grow faster than you're used to. That growth creates reassurance. And reassurance lowers anxiety more effectively than a nicer apartment ever will. The second shift is separating comfort from status. Comfort is buying things that genuinely reduce daily friction. A better mattress, reliable transportation, health insurance, quality food. Status is buying things to signal progress. There's nothing evil about status. We're human. But when status upgrades consume every raise, relief never arrives. Ask yourself quietly before larger expenses. Does this increase peace or increase appearance? That question alone changes behavior. The third adjustment is building what I call future-proofing buckets. Not complicated portfolios, just simple layers. An emergency fund that covers several months of core expenses. Automatic retirement contributions so compound interest works quietly in the background. A small buffer account that absorbs irregular expenses like travel or gifts. When these systems exist, your income no longer feels like a single fragile stream. It feels supported. And here's something subtle. When your savings grow consistently, even if slowly, your identity shifts from spender to builder. That identity shift reduces anxiety more than a bigger paycheck ever could. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable but important. Sometimes feeling broke despite earning more isn't about math. It's about unresolved money narratives. Maybe you grew up watching money disappear quickly. Maybe financial instability was normal. Maybe you equate money with safety at a deep emotional level. So, no matter how much you earn, your nervous system doesn't relax because it doesn't trust stability. In those cases, a building margin isn't just financial, it's emotional. You need repeated evidence that money can stay, that expenses can be handled, that emergencies don't equal disaster, and that evidence only builds through consistent, boring systems, not dramatic leaps, not overnight transformations. Boring consistency. If you're earning more in 2026 but still feel broke, I don't want you to feel ashamed. You're navigating rising costs, shifting expectations, and a culture that constantly tells you to upgrade your life. Of course, it feels heavy, but here's the hopeful part. Relief isn't hiding in the next raise. It's hiding in the gap you create between what you earn and what you require. It's hiding in the pause before lifestyle expansion. It's hiding in small, consistent systems that quietly build resilience. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You need to protect your margin. And margin doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up as less panic, more options, fewer desperate decisions. Over time, that calm compounds. And one day you'll look at your accounts and realize something surprising. You're not rich, but you're not fragile either. And that feeling, that steady, grounded, unshaken feeling, that's what most people were chasing all along. If this resonated with you, if you felt that quiet confusion of earning more but not feeling better, subscribe. This channel isn't about hype or overnight wealth. It's about understanding the psychology behind money so you can build stability without burning yourself out. In the next video, I'm going to break down the exact behavioral trap that keeps high earners stuck in financial anxiety, and even when their numbers look impressive on paper. Until then, remember this. Progress beats perfection, and margin beats income. I'll see you in the next one.